What's up, y'all? Moose Juice Reviews back at it with another review, and we're coming at you reviewing Garry Sign's second studio album, Let's Do It. I reviewed his first album, Recharge, which I give a 7.6. So hopefully I like this project. This project is mostly entirely instrumental. It has 4 songs that have a feature, 3 songs featuring Moose Juice, and 1 song featuring Tim Ross, Perfect. And the 3 songs featuring Moose Juice are Mayonnaise, No Swag, and Haribo. So hopefully we'll like this project. I'm really looking forward to the future of Garry Sign's discography, so let's see. Alright, track 1 is the track Just In Case. It's a slow, lo-fi type of song with a nice slow pad and pretty well fitting strings and somewhat unique drum beat. And I really do like towards the middle of the song the addition of a drum beat about a minute in. I think it sort of like spices up the track, but really overall the track has little variety and does get a bit boring and redundant, and it kind of just feels like Garry Sign has a lack of effort about halfway through, and he really just ceases to have any switch ups, and the only switch up that he has is about like a minute in, and it's just he just repeats the intro of the track, which kind of just adds to the redundancy. But overall, it's not a bad track. It's actually a pretty good track. If it just either wasn't as long or if he just had more switch ups, it would be a much better track. But it's not bad by any sense of the imagination. But yeah. Alright, track 2, Milkshake. It definitely gives some variety to the album, as it is very different from track 1. But again, using the same or similar setup of instruments. But I really do like the kick. It gives it a kind of a nice bass, deep sound. But I'm really not a huge fan of the chorus. I think it sounds uninspired and a bit musically immature. But I do like everything else about the track. I really love the synth additions around a minute and 45. And again, the sort of like bell sound sounds like, in a way, creepily childish. But overall, I think it's a really great track. But I think that the bell sound being creepily childish isn't the purpose at all. But it really enhances the track for me. I think it's a big addition that I really like. So overall, it's a pretty great track, as I said. You know, pretty good track. Alright, moving on to track 3, we have Haribo featuring Moose Juice. For me, in a way, the beat kind of sounds low quality. It kind of sounds like you're wearing headphones from 2001 and listen to it. It just sounds really muffled, but lyrically I think it gives the track a lot of upside. But when the beat occurs, it does offer some variety, but the track gradually slows down, which really diminishes the hype that the lyrics kind of built up. But the re-listenability factor is definitely there. My only real complaints are the length. I think after the lyrics end, the beat gets a bit drawn on just to improve the number that you're seeing in terms of how much time. I don't think it really is long just out of an enjoyment factor. And the audio quality of the production is my complaint, like I said earlier. But overall, again, it's a pretty good track. The upside definitely outweighs the downside of the track. I think so. I decided I'm putting on this beanie because my hair looks stupid. There we go. So we're wearing the beanie like this for this track because it looks stupid and bunny. So Moose Juice comes out the gates with some really insulting lyrics, which is part of the goal of the diss track. And the instrumental is very groovy, and lyrically and vocally is Moose Juice's best work. And the lyrics are much longer than just one verse, which is typical with Moose Juice. And it definitely helps the track, and I really just overall enjoy the instrumental. I really enjoy the drums and the synth. This is personally my favorite feature track on the record. I really enjoy it. But yeah, that's all I have to say about No Swag featuring Moose Juice. Alright, now we're wearing the beanie like this. Alright, track 5, Rare. I really enjoy the chorus on this one. It's really chill and lo-fi, and it's a very re-listenable track. I love this track. It's absolutely awesome. It's definitely a bop. You can definitely 100% bop this track. It's one of my favorite tracks on the record. It's just so great. Like, I really have absolutely nothing negative to say about this track. It's really one of my favorites. You know, I just love this track. I'm gonna glaze this track all day. It's amazing. It's so good. Alright, track 6, Christmas Dreams. It really sounds like Christmas, like the title, says. And I like it a lot. I don't know what it is about it. I don't know if it's the bells or the ambience, or I don't know, everything just meshes really well. with everything else. Yet again, a great track from Garry Dollsign. I'm really enjoying this record so far. I have nothing negative to say about this track. It's really, the only negative thing that I can say is it's really not super memorable, and I don't know why, but it's really a great track. Nothing super, like, crazily positive that I can say about this track, but nothing negative really at all. It's a great instrumental track. Really great job, Garry Dollsign. That's all I can say. Alright, track 7, Take a Risk. This track is epic. I love the drums and the synth. It's really hype and it's litty, and I love it a lot. It's an amazing stretch of tracks for Garry Dollsign. It also sounds very different from the rest of his work, I'd say. It's not as like redundant as, Recharge. Every track pretty much sounds the same. That's one of my biggest complaints with it. This is an awesome track. I really love it, and it's to kick off the second half of the album. So far, the first half is absolutely amazing. I definitely think it's going to be better than Recharge. It's really this is a great album. Props to Garry Dollsign, amazing record that he's producing. Yeah, that's all I have to say. Props to Garry Dollsign. Alright, track 8, Mayonnaise, featuring Moose Juice. This is the last Moose Juice featured track on why am I so stupid? Oh my god. Alright. I'm redoing this. Yeah. Track 8, Mayonnaise, featuring Moose Juice. It's very quiet compared to the rest of the album, and Moose's first verse is really boring. But once you get to Broad Wave, it's absolutely awesome. Best couple of bars from Moose Juice, in my opinion. The only complaint I have is the first couple bars from Moose, but really, they're not awful. It's not an awful track. It's a pretty good track. Re-listenability factor is up there. It's a big thing I'd say about the album, but it's the last time we hear Moose Juice on this album, which is pretty sad, but I'm liking the material I'm hearing from him so far in terms of his features. Oh man, come on, man. Alright, track 9, we have Honey. It's also quiet as freak compared to the rest. Dude. Alright, track 9, we have Honey. It's quiet as balls compared to the rest of the album. But it's very chill and sounds more like a Pico track, I'd say, than a Garry Dollsign track. It's very jazzy, I believe, I could be incorrect, but I believe this is the first time we ever hear guitar in Garry Dollsign's discography. It's a very great, slow, quiet track, which could be like in a Pokemon soundtrack or something. It's great. I love this track. It's one of my favorites. And a big thing I'd say about it is that it's not redundant whatsoever. Alright, now we're reviewing the track Forest. Track 10, Forest. It's so chill and great. I really don't have a lot that I can even say about this track. But everything I said about Honey applies to this track, Forest. Just less. But really, that's all I have to say about the track. There's absolutely nothing else. It's good. It's great. Track 11, Big Swag Dog. It's pretty hype, but I really don't get why Garry Dollsign would make it hype in the start and then like chill / ambient at the end. It's a bit strange. I don't really like that too much. But if the first half and second half were their own tracks, it'd be really cool. I'd really enjoy it. This track is just alright. It's not too great, but really the only complaint is that it's just kind of weird, the switch up from hype to chill. It's like polar opposites, and I don't know, I don't really get it. I get the experimental factor. Maybe it's been done before. I'm not picking up on this, but I'm not a big fan of it. Not the worst track on the album. It's not that bad. Alright, this is Perfect featuring Tim Ross. This is track 12. Really, any feature that isn't Moose Juice just won't work on this album, really. This John sucks, it adds a story to the album that makes no sense with the rest of the album. It's a bit weird, I don't really know. I don't get the point, comedic, but let's be real, am I ever gonna listen to this track seriously ever again? No, I'm not. But in terms of comedy, I'd say it does its job, but it doesn't fit on the album. Should be a single, I think. I don't like the song. No. Alright, final track, track 13, Delirious. I really like the synth and the drums. It's so chill. It's my personal favorite track on the album. It's awesome. It's just a great way to finish out the album, and it really gives Perfect its only upside, and that is that Perfect leads into Delirious, and that's the only sense that Perfect has being in the album. But yeah, Delirious is a great track. I really enjoy it. Yeah, it's a great track, and that's the final track. Now we're gonna get to the final ranking out of 4 categories. All right. One of the 4 factors that I used to rate this album was individual tracks. Now I rated each track 1 to 10 about how I felt on it, and then I averaged them all out. 13 tracks. Track 1 I gave a 6 out of 10. Track 2 I gave a 6.5. Track 3 I gave an 8. Track 4 I gave a 9. Track 5 I gave a 10. Track 6 I gave a 10. Track 7 I gave a 10. Track 8 I gave a 7. Track 9 I gave a 10. Track 10 I gave a 9. Track 11 I gave a 6. Track 12 I gave a 2. And track 13 I gave a 10. And that all averaged out to be a 7.96. So we're just going to give it an 8 in terms of individual tracks. So that gets an 8 so far. Pretty solid. Now moving on to depth. Now, that's a big factor for me is depth. And now, these 4 factors aren't going to be all 4 of them added up and divided by 4. I'm not going to do it that way because I weigh them personally, I weigh them differently. But these are just the 4 factors I'm basing on so you can see my complaints with the album. Depth, I think that this album has a lot of depth. I don't think it's as deep as something like Irreversible Advance or something like that. But it's nearly as deep as an instrumental album can be. I mean, it could have more depth, like Irreversible Bands, but in terms of depth, I think it's pretty deep, you know? I give it a 9 out of 10 in terms of depth. I think it's definitely a deep album, you know? I know I'm repeating myself a lot, but it's a deep album. It has depth, it has variety, you know? I like it. Next 2 factors I'm going to be rating this album on are replayability and personal opinion. I know I've said the word replayability a lot, but some tracks really killed the replayability, you know? The final feature with Moose Juice, you know, Perfect, track 1, track 2, they really kind of killed the replayability, but in terms of every other track, I think they're very replayable. So I gave replayability a 9. Now, my personal opinion, that's the last thing I'll be rating this album on. I gave that a 9.5. I personally really enjoy the album. But now comes the rating. Drum roll, please. I gave it a light to decent 9. Now, this still puts it below Irreversible Advance, but just slightly. I think that Pico needs to drop another project, another record to, you know, get himself back in the game. Because so far, Garry, I'm really liking what's coming out from him. So I hope you have a great day, you know. Keep listening to music, you know. Give this album a listen if you like my review. You know, if not, still listen to it and tell me what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Have a great day.